On today's Community Wednesday, let's break down the Kilo 141. The Kilo was probably the very first truly long-range assault rifle. When kitted outright, it had basically zero recoil. You could just hold it and down people 200 meters away. But of course, it got nerfed a bit, and then it got hit even harder. But over the last few months, a lot of weapons' recoil has been nerfed, but the Kilo hasn't. So let's take a look to see if the Kilo is worth using in today's meta. In this build, we'll be using the monolithic suppressor, Singuard Arms 19.8-inch Prowler barrel, TAC laser, VOK 3.0 times optic if you're on PC or a holographic sight if you're on console, and 60 round mags. Although you can also use the 100 round mag if you don't mind slower mobility and slower ADS time. So let's take a look at the stats, starting with mobility. It has an ADS time of 290 milliseconds, which is just where we want a long-range weapon, and its reload and reload add times are 2.6 from empty and 2.35 if you leave one bullet in the mag. And it's got a mag cap of 60, so this is all pretty decent. Its movement speed is slightly higher than what we would expect from a long-range Modern Warfare weapon, but its sprint speed is right where it should be. And so is its ADS strafe at 1.75 meters per second. Sprint on attack sprint out times are at an average 250 and 370 milliseconds. Its stability is 1.5 TL, which is great for long-range engagements, and its full velocity is at an amazing 1212.1 meters per second, making this really easy to hit your long-range shots with. And it's got a rate of fire of 12.5 rounds per second, or 750 rounds per minute, which is great. So when we add it all together, it gets a mobility score of 35. Now for its recoil, and to no surprise, it's going to be very easy. After the initial shots, it's a very slight curve to the left, and then it goes up again. The whole magnitude of the recoil is extremely small, so it's very easy to use. And if the target's not moving, you could easily use this up to 200 meters, or even further. However, in actual use, I found that around 145 meters is when targets that are moving become a little bit too hard to hit due to the bounciness. And you'll find that this is about the same maximum range that you'll be able to hit someone whenever they're mounted, or when you're trying to counter-snipe someone hiding behind a rock. So it gets a recoil score of 45. Now for its damage. It has two drop-offs, one at 48 meters and one at 84. Under 48 meters, it's gonna be right at the edge of the worst bracket for TTKs. But this is expected for a long-range weapon. We don't want to be too good up close. However, between 30 and 48 meters, it's gonna be performing really nicely. It's actually gonna be way above average, but this is only for a slight 18 meter distance. Between 48 and 84 meters, it's going to be getting a below average TTK. This is fine because it has basically no recoil. Since you'll be hitting all your shots, this is going to be going really fast. And even better, if you get one headshot, it's going to drop it down to 1 second TTK. However, after 84 meters, even though you'll be able to hit all your shots, it's going to take 1.35 seconds most likely. And this is going to be in the worst TTK bracket once again. So it's going to get a damage score of 26.72. And when we add up all the categories, it gets a final score of 106.72. This is a score I'm seeing a lot, especially with a lot of Modern Warfare and Cold War weapons, especially after the switch to 300 HP. At this point, you probably expect me to say that the Kilo is a solid choice for something like Rebirth, where you would be using it under 100 meters. But you don't really need a zero recoil weapon under 100 meters. Especially when I've mentioned many other weapons that get way better TTKs and get good enough recoil to be used up to 100 meters. And even when just talking about Modern Warfare weapons, the Bruin's good up to 100 meters. The M13 is good up to 165 and gets way better TTKs. And a weapon that I've seen come up a lot lately, the Grau, has a slower rate of fire so it helps you save bullets, and it does get a bit more recoil, but it also gets a similar TTK to the M13. Now why am I saying all this? Because even though it has amazing recoil, I found myself getting frustrated over enemies having enough time to run away behind cover and blade up. At extremely long ranges, I was literally shooting them for over a second straight, and they still got away with a tiny bit of health. I thought the problem was bad enough with my Holger, but with the Kilo, it's much worse. If they removed the third damage range, I wouldn't hesitate to recommend it, but in this state it is right now, I really can't. Its mobility score is a lot higher than I would expect for a long-range Modern Warfare weapon, and its recoil is right where it should be, but that third damage range really kills it. The second damage range is fine, especially since you can knock it down to 1 second. That would be a small price to pay for basically zero recoil. So basically what I can recommend for you is if you really want to use the Kilo, know its limitations and use it. But know that you'll be outgunned by many weapons, even Modern Warfare ones. But if you want a Modern Warfare weapon that can stretch out to extremely long ranges, and it should be an assault rifle, then try out the M13. It is great. And if you want to save a little bit of ammo, but not stretch out as far, try out the Grau. Either of those choices are solid, and I still use them from time to time today. So that was the Kilo 141. Have you used it recently? And if so, what'd you think about it? And if there's any other weapon build or part of the game you want to break down, let me know. You may see it on the next Community Wednesday. Thanks for watching.